तो चलिए स्वागत है आपका इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी के अगले सेशन में, जिसमें आज हम लोग कवर करेंगे पंजाब का जो क्राइसिस हुआ था, ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार, पॉलिटिकल डिस्टर्बेंस। इसके रिगार्डिंग एक डिटेल में चर्चा करी जाएगी। ठीक है, अब जैसे कि आप देख रहे हैं ये पंजाब का मैप है। पंजाब एट द टॉप, जम्मू कश्मीर, हिमाचल प्रदेश, हरियाणा, राजस्थान से लगा हुआ है जो कि इंडियन स्टेट्स है, प्लस इसकी बाउंड्री जो है वो पाकिस्तान से टच करती है। जो केस हुआ था वो अमृतसर में हुआ था, एंड अमृतसर का सीधा बॉर्डर जो है वो आपका पाकिस्तान से टच करता है। अच्छा, 1947 में जब पार्टीशन हुआ था, सो पार्टीशन में दो स्टेट्स जो थे वो मेजरली सफर किए थे। पहला स्टेट जो था वो था बंगाल, और दूसरा जो स्टेट था वो था पंजाब। बिकॉज क्या हुआ था कि ये दोनों स्टेट्स को बीच से बांटा गया था, फ्रॉम द मिडल, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट, इसकी वजह से मेजर जो क्राइसिस और मेजर जो वायलेंस हुआ था वो इन दो स्टेट ने विटनेस किया था। जैसे बंगाल में नाव खली जगह थी, पंजाब में भी आपका अमृतसर हो गया, मेजोरिटी ऑफ द वायलेंस हुआ था। सो ऑलवेज इट्स बीइंग अ डिस्टर्बिंग प्लेस और डिस्टर्ब्ड प्लेसेस। बिकॉज लाइक आपको फिर अगर ऐसा इशू आता है, रिहैबिलिटेशन एंड न्यू generation of aspiration and deprivation arose simultaneously. ठीक है, ये कंडीशन थी। अब चलिए देखते हैं कि पंजाब में इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी के रिगार्डिंग क्या क्या इशू आए थे। So Punjab was ravaged by Sikh militancy throughout 1890s से 90s तक ही रहा था। The spark of this militancy in the state was lit on 13th April 1978 when a group of Orthodox Sikhs led by Jarnail Singh Bhindranwala protested against the annual congregation of Nirankaris, the sect considered to be heretical in Amritsar. निरंकारीज ने जो कांग्रेशन बनाया था, ग्रुप ऑफ पीपल, कांग्रेगेशन, उसके रिगार्डिंग विरोध किया था। द प्रोटेस्ट soon generated into the clash between two groups, compelling the police to resort to firing between the situation under control. The firing by police resulted in death of 18 followers of Bhindranwala, 2 followers of Sant Nirankari. नाउ इसके लिए भिंडरावाला ने ब्लेम किया गवर्नमेंट को, एंड उसने कसम खाई कि मैं मसैकर करूंगा, मसैकर, अ काइंड ऑफ अ जेनोसाइड, जिसकी वजह से पंजाब में मिलिटेंसी चालू हुई। एक और फॉल आउट का इंसिडेंट का, दैट इट वाज रीइंफोर्स एग्जिस्टिंग चास्म बिटवीन हिंदू एंड सिख। हिंदू और सिखों के बीच में देयर वाज अ fight. There was not like fight, but a dissatisfaction. Okay, not exactly to be said as a fight. Even though the episode was case of intra-Sikh rivalry, the subsequent court verdict on this case was acquitted for all the followers of Sant Nirakari on the ground of self-defense was exploited by Bhindranwala, his followers, to highlight an alleged anti-Sikh bias of Hindu state. The Sikh militancy and Khalistan movement was comprehensively defeated in 1993, but that time it has consumed more than 21,469 lives. सो हुआ क्या, सिख मिलिटेंसी इन पंजाब, इसका जो रूट कॉज है वो हुआ बिकॉज ऑफ द पॉलिटिसाइजेशन ऑफ सिख आइडेंटिटी ड्यूरिंग colonial टाइम. The primary issue of militancy in the state was the outcome of bitter political struggle between Congress and Akali Dal. The British has formulated a policy in which appointment of political privileges was based on the population preponderance of particular religious group. This led an intense competition between Sikhs and Hindus who declare Sikh as a sect of Hinduism. To counter the claim of Hindus, the Sikhs started asserting their religious identity and formed a number of political groups, especially Akali Dal, which propagated the Sikh identity and aspiration. Thus, by the time India's independence, Sikhs has established themselves as separate religious group, having distinct ethnicity. तो पॉलिटिक्स क्या थी अकाली दल की? Before partition, the Sikh has adopted that British should create a separate state for them on the lines of Pakistan. They were wanting for Khalistan. The fact that Sikhs did not constitute a majority in the area and did not reside in a contiguous territory that could be carved out of a separate state negated this aspiration. Because अगर वो बनाते भी, then the state will become landlocked, and landlocked state with having the aspiration or having the difficulties from both of the side to take care. This will make the state fragile, and not even fragile. It can also lead to the religious atrocity. So they reluctantly agreed that the partition of Punjab and remained with Sikh Hindu majority state in eastern Punjab. This gesture, however, did not diminish the aspiration of the separate state within the union. In 1948, Akali Dal made that the demand of Punjabi Suba, arguing that they would rather have a separate state where they can safeguard the culture, Gurmukhi script, language as Punjabi and religion as Sikhism. Indian government smarting for the partition of India on religious lines did not accede to the demands of Akali. However, the Union government did agree to several of the demands such as increased jobs in public sector, equal numbers of seats and Sikhs in the Ministry of Punjab, divided the state into Punjabi speaking and Hindi speaking Haryana segments where the respective language will be the medium of instruction till matriculation. Other will be taught in as a compulsory language after 4th grade. Throughout 50s and 60s, Akali Dal campaigned for the creation of Punjabi Suba, Punjabi speaking state. The State Reorganization Committee, however, found the demand of Akali Dal for the separate communal and therefore rejected their demand on the ground that it lacked support from the general public. In response, the Akali Dal and Sikh extremists, in order to garner Sikh support, tried to exploit the age-of-old fears of Sikh that their identity and religion is in threat. These extremist elements in Akali Dal even spread the propaganda that while Hindu government at center has created several states based on the language, but the state were denied their rightful demand. So then 1965, 1956 में Fateh Singh of newly created Akali Dal Fateh threatened the government that he would launch fast unto them until the demand of creation of Punjabi Suba is met. The Union government conceded the demand of Akali after India-Pakistan war on 1965. The Punjab Suba was created in 1st November 1966. Creation of separate Punjab state, however, did not end the tension between Congress and Akali Dal. Akali Dal claimed that Sikhs were betrayed by centre because control of Bhakra and Bias Dam were not given to state. The certain Punjabi speaking areas were not added in the newly organized state. The Chandigarh, which was the capital of Punjab, made a union territory, thereby jeopardizing or hampering the claim of making a danger to claim by the Punjab over. The Punjab says the river water was curtailed and was forced to share more water resources with Haryana and Rajasthan. और क्या जरूरी चीज है फॉलोइंग इंडिपेंडेंस कांग्रेस एंड अकाली दल इमर्ज्ड as two main political parties in Punjab. The irony is where Congress party crafted an enduring support base comprising of rural people like Mazhabi Sikh, as well as segment of Sikh population, the Akali Dal, despite representing the interest of the Sikhs, never enjoyed full support of entire Sikh community. It only have support of rich Jat Sikhs in rural areas and small segments of Sikh in urban areas. The demand of separate Punjabi Suba by Akali Dal was therefore essentially to appease the Sikh constituency. Emerging as a governing party in the state, Akali Dal formed two coalition government in 1967-69, but because of intense infighting, the government collapsed in 69. After the election, Congress Indira formed the government and Gyani Jail Singh as the CM. Now, how does it start? The defeat of Akali Dal at the hand of Congress party pushed Akalis towards adopting most extremist ideas to consolidate Sikh support. In October 1973, an annual congregation in Anandpur, Sahib, the Akali Dal adopted a resolution which defined Sikhs as a Qaum. Qaum means nation, and called devolution of the powers from the state center to the state and more autonomy to Punjab. Akali Dal also placed itself a very embodiment of hopes and aspiration of a Sikh nation is fully entitled to its representation. The social, religious, economic, political policies in resolution were drafted with the objective to win over Sikh nationalists. The Congress, in its part, tried to manipulate the Sikh community and attempted to divide on the line of caste, class to ensure Sikh votes remained divided. Now, this tactics of Congress propelled Akali to proclaim more extremist religious ideas to compete with the Sikh extremists. In the ensuing tussle, the Congress party extended political patronage to Jarnail Singh Bhindranwala, leaders of Sikh seminary, Damdami Taskal, an alternate of Akali Dal. Bhindranwala attempted to narrow the definition of Sikhism to means those who were baptized into Khalsa were Amritdari, baptismal nectar. He also espoused Sikh orthodoxy and austere living and argued that Sikhs were losing their identity because of internal decay and external threat. He criticized the Akali Dal for embracing secular thoughts and ideas and claimed that Sikhs were suffering under Hindu imperialistic rulers of New Delhi. The effective articulation of perceived grievances of Sikh community by Bhindranwala, his charismatic personality received a lots of support from Sikh extremists and extract a large number of radicalized Jat Sikh youths under his fold. Along with that, he got a lot of followers because of his relationship with Amrik Singh. Who was Amrik Singh? President of All India Sikh Student Federation. Was a blood brother and succeeded Amrit Singh's father as a head of Taksal after the later death in August. The Akhand Kirtani Jatha, the ceaseless singing of devotional songs, Babar Khalsa, a political offshoot of Akhand Kirtani Jatha, and Dal Khalsa, a militant Sikh organization with avowed object of demanding creation of independent sovereign Sikh state, all created in 1978. Together with AISF, formed a core team of Bhindranwala in Congress I some section of Akali Dal and Pakistan, which offered them material support in the quest of separate Khalistan, also provided Bhindranwala with much needed support. Now, emboldened by the support he found, Bhindranwala adopted the strategy of terror to spread his cloud power. Now, he publicly issued the hit list of those who disagreed with his ideology, systematically killed the target person one after another. He killed number of Nirankari leaders, including the head Baba Gurbachan Singh, who was allegedly responsible for the death of his followers in April 1978. He also targeted prominent Hindu leaders to intimidate the Hindu as well as create a chasm between Hindu and Sikh. One such leader was Lala Jagat Narayan, a newspaper owner and Hindu leader. The Congress party, however, defeated Bhindranwala in parliament by stating that he would not involved in the killing, even put pressure on Punjab police to release Bhindranwala when he was arrested for these murders. The unconditional release of Bhindranwala added to this persona of invincibility and saviors of the Sikh. Bhindranwala and his cohorts indoctrinated the Sikh youth in the ideology of separatism in military terms under the facade of Gurmat camps, the camps held for the expounding religious doctrines of Sikh. They also used this camp for the training of the youth in order to use the modern weapons. The network of criminals and anti-social were exploited for procuring arms and ammunition as well as for looting the banks, jewelry shops, homes to replenish the financial resources. They also stockpiled weapons in Gurudwara. Sikh temples obtained external support from Pakistan and Sikh diaspora. Now, the another tactic employed by Bhindranwala and his follower was to occupy the Gurudwara and exploit it for the various purposes. First, controlling Gurudwara, the Sikh militant controlled the head priests, their sermons, and suitably modified them from religious indoctrination, radicalizing the youth for recruitment. Second, by occupying the Gurudwaras, the militant projected themselves as religious and political leaders and often controlled their human financial resources by threatening the Gurudwara's head. Third, the militant used the Gurudwaras as operational center because their logistical and strategic benefit. Beside providing the place to dine and lodge, the Gurudwaras were perfect site as a protected hideouts for them because the government was reluctant to send a force into the Gurudwaras lest it offend the Sikh sentiments. He himself took the residence in Akal Takht, the throne of timeless, and began to extol and instigate the violence. As militancy was gaining currency in Punjab, the Sikh diaspora started supporting the separate cause of Khalistan. Jagjit Singh Chauhan had in 1971 raised the demand of separate Khalistan. In fact, the Khalistan movement has originated in UK between 1971-78. A large numbers of organizations supported the movement in the 80s. Chauhan renewed his campaign in Punjab, hoisted the flag of Khalistan at Anandpur Sahib in the March and formed the National Council of Khalistan on 12th April 80s. 3 months later, he proclaimed the formation of Khalistan and issued Khalistani passport, stamp, currency notes from United Kingdom, where he set up his government in exile. Further, in February 1981, during the meeting of Working Committee of Akali Dal, the extremist faction led by Jagdev Singh Talwandi openly supported the Sikh are a nation theory. The Dal Khalsa came out in support of separate Khalistan when they took out procession of 60 activists wielding swords and the banners with the map of proposed Khalistan. In August 81, the Dal Khalsa member also raised pro-Khalistan slogan from the visitor gallery of Punjab Assembly. Significantly, in September 81, 5 members of Dal Khalsa hijacked Delhi Srinagar Airlines flight IC423 with 117 on board to Lahore as protest against the arrest of Bhindranwala. In fact, in 81, Dal Khalsa indulged in looting, arson, mayhem and murder, thereby creating the atmosphere of terror in the state. Finally, the centre declared Dal Khalsa National Council of Khalistan Unlawful Association under UAPA. After the ban, the members of Dal Khalsa quietly moved to the other organizations such as AISSF, Babbar Khalsa, to continued indulged in arson, looting and indiscriminate killing. Now, terrorism was escalating. The Akali Dal, which lost both state and parliament election, mounting the political pressure on the state and union government. In 81, the party presented its list of 45 demands to the union, which was revised 15 demands a month later. Some of these demands were based on Anandpur Sahib resolution, include issuance such as declaration of Amritsar as a holy city, enactment of All India Gurudwara Act, increase the share of rivers water for the Punjab and Chandigarh, greater autonomy to Punjab. In April 1982, Longowala faction started Nahar Roko Andolan to to block the building of Satluj Yamuna Link Canal. Meanwhile, Bhindranwala also started morcha against the arrest of Amrik Singh of AISSF. This agitation was followed by Talwandi faction morcha for creation of Desh, semi-autonomous Punjab. All these morchas combined become the rallying point for Sikhs to fight against imperialistic union government. In fact, Akali Dal, which has shifted its headquarters to Golden Temple, intensified its agitation in August 1982 and termed it as Dharma Yudh, religious war. They even invited Bhindranwala to join their morchas. The merging of the Akali Dal and Bhindranwala morchas provided Akali Dal the required appeal and foot soldiers to carry out violent agitation. The Akali Dal particularly chose national holidays to stage protests to the lower the prestige of India, even threatened the demonstration during the Asian Games. These violent demonstrations perpetrated by the Akali Dal became a frequent with the calls of Rasta Roko, Rail Roko, and Kam Roko. Now, from 1983 onwards, the security situation in Punjab became more poorer, direr. While the political agitation became more violent, more and more youth were pulled into the extremist fold. A pattern of targeting and killing of innocent Hindus by the terrorists became pronounced. In fact, the terrorists would hijack bus, segregate the Hindus, kill them in cold blood. The terrorists also committed act of sacrilege against Hindu temple through grenades in Hindu procession to create enmity between Hindu and Hindu and Sikhs, and terrorists also targeted the policemen officers and killed several during the encounters. The murder of Deputy Inspector A.S. Atwal was particularly heinous. Now, the Khalid Namal criticized the acts of terror and state government appeals to Shiromani Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee to hand over the terrorist hiding in Gurudwara drew no response. However, this alliance between Akalidar and Bhindranwala also created tension between the followers of Bhindranwala and Sant Harchand Singh Longawala. There were violent clashes between the two factions, forcing Bhindranwala to move to the Guru Nanak Niwas to Akal Takht with his armed entourage in December 1983. From his sanctuary, Bhindranwala and his associate intensified their campaign of communal hatred and terrors inside the Golden Temple. Also, any dissent against the Bhindranwala was met with intimidation and terror, as several were tortured and killed. The deteriorating law and order situation forced Union government asked the Chief Minister Barbara Singh to resign and impose President rule. The imposition of President did not alter the grave security situation. In fact, beginning of 1984, the situation in Punjab became more fraught because the Akali Dal's communal propaganda, violent mass agitation and increasing terrorist activity. The subversive activities of group inside the Golden Temple assumed menacing proportion as influence of external forces with deep-rooted interest in disintegration of India became more evident. On 4th August 1982, when Akali Dal intensified their agitation till 31st December 1983, there were around 425 violent incidents, 112 persons were killed, more than 655 injured. However, from January 84 to 3 84, there was over 775 incident, 298 persons were killed and more than 525 injured. Now happened Operation Blue Star. Alarmed with the worsening security situation, 3rd June 1984, the Indira Gandhi government ordered the Indian Army to get rid of all terrorists ensconced in various gurudwaras. The Operation Blue Star was the code name. of the military operations to clear the Golden Temple of war militants. Prior to moving into Golden Temple in the night 5th June 1984, the Indian Army appealed for surrender to the terrorists. This appeal led to the surrender of Harchan Singh Lungawala and G.S. Dohra, along with 350 people in the midnight of 6 June 1984. Now, the terrorists hold up the temple premises, however, fire extensively to prevent surrender and ended up killing 70 persons. The army has moved with the strengthened 4 infantry battalion, 2 specialist commando battalion, a squadron of Vijayanta tanks, and 1 platoon of infantry combat vehicle. Expectedly, the army faced determined resistance from the well-entrenched terrorists who fired at them with the machine guns, rifle fires from the fortified verandas, minarets, and rooftops. In fact, the Indian Army took heavy casualties in the initial hours of the operation. It has to use heavy tanks to clear the fortification and neutralize the terrorists, even opened the fire on Akal Takht from where terrorists were firing heavily. The entire operation lasted for 2 days, resulted in the killing of several militants, including Jarnail Singh Bhandrwala and Amrik Singh. Subsequent to the Operation Blue Star, Operation Wood Rose was conducted as following operation to capture Bhindranwala's surviving associates to clear the Gurudwaras in the state of extremist elements. Operation Wood Rose. There was an intelligence that terrorists had taken sanctuary in total 42 Gurudwaras in the state. Based on this intelligence, the Indian Army carried out coordinated operations against the terrorists in the several districts of Punjab. Prior to launching these military operations, appeals were made to terrorists to surrender. While in some places terrorists surrendered without much fight, in other places the army have to move into the Gurudwara premises to dislodge the terrorist. By the end of the month June 84, a total 554 civilians and terrorists were killed, including 493 in the Golden Temple. 4712 civilians terrorists were apprehended, and 1592 were from the Golden Temple, 796 from other Gurudwaras. The large quantity of weapons, ammunition, explosive were recovered, including automatic weapons, mines, anti-tank weapons, a small factory of manufacturing hand grenades, stun guns within the precincts of Golden Temple. While the army operation was successful in evicting the terrorists, extensive damage caused to the Golden Temple, particularly the Akal Takht, was perceived by the Sikh community as an attack on their religion. The complete media blackout regarding the military operation fueled many of the rumors about the alleged atrocities committed by Indian Army. The Sikh community was highly agitated and simmering with anger. The Sikh community was highly agitated and simmering with anger. The mopping up operation conducted by Indian Army following Blue Star further compounded the problem. The mistrust of local police and intelligence, hostile population, lack of credible intelligence forced the army indiscriminately arrest of a large number of people, most of whom could be described as innocent. The assassination of Indira Gandhi by her Sikh bodyguard on 1984 as a revenge, consequent killing of Sikhs in Delhi were the proverbial last straw. Thereafter, Sikh youth joined militancy in large numbers. Demand for homeland for the Sikh became more and more aggressive. Even Sikh officers, soldiers deserted the Indian military and joined the ranks of the militant. In their quest of separate Khalistan, the militant found a willing ally in Pakistan. Pakistan, especially ISI, Inter-Service Intelligence, set up camps to train Sikh youths in handling the weapons explosive. Some of these camps were located as close as 75 meters from the international boundary. Sikh youth crossed over Pakistan to receive training in various terrorist camps. The flow of Sikh militants in these training camps picked up in 1984. Following the Operation Blue Star, increased substantially in subsequent years. Once the training was completed, these militants sneaked back into the Punjab where sophisticated arms and explosives. Between 86 and 92, security forces in Punjab has apprehended 55,650 persons trying to cross international border and seized around 25,000 AK series assault rifles in the state. As was inevitable, Sikh militancy raged in Punjab. Several terrorist groups such as Khalistan Commando Force, Khalistan Liberation Force, Khalistan Liberation Organization, Bhindranwala Tiger Force of Khalistan were also formed. The terrorists belonging to these organizations unleashed a reign of terror in the state. The numbers of persons killed by the Sikh militants increased from 75 in 83 to 359 in 84 and further increased to 520 in 86. There was also a high-profile and sensational act perpetrated by the militants, such as hijacking of Indian airplanes from Chandigarh, bombing the Air India Flight 182 Kanishka in June 85, which killed around 329 passengers and crew, and the assassination of General A. A. Vaidya, who was the Indian Army Chief of Staff during the Operations Blue Star in 1986. Most significantly, the Golden Temple, which was resorted to SGP, Shiromani Gurudwara Prabandhak Committee, in January 1986, was once again taken control by Sikh terrorists led by Damdami Taksal. The terrorists were able to lodge themselves in Golden Temple precinct because of their direct and indirect support of key Sikh leaders, institutions such as CGPC and AISF and Jathedar, leaders of Akal Takht. This time around, the Union government and state government looked the other way when the terrorists smuggled in large quantity of arms and ammunition inside the temple premises. On 29th April 1986, the Panthic Committee to coordinate the activities of the terrorists was constituted and declaration of Khalistan was issued. The Barnala government made feeble attempt to get rid of the terrorists from the Golden Temple and launched the operation often referred as Black Thunder. The operation, which launched in 30 April 1986 with the help of elite anti-terrorist forces NSG with a non-starter and advance notice about the operation was already given out. As expected, the operation did not result in any of the arrest of the terrorists, and the Sikh militants once again lodged themselves humbly inside the temple complexes, continued to kill the civilians and police personnel. October 1985 to April 1988, 2,866 lives, where 2,207 civilians, 177 policemen, and 482 terrorists were lost. The terrorism also spread far and wide in the state, gripped more of the districts than before. Thus, apart from districts of Amritsar, Gurdaspur, Hoshiarpur, Jalandhar, Ludhiana, Faridkot, also badly affected. In May 87, Barnala government was dismissed by the central and president rule was imposed. What was the Black Thunder operation? 1988. The Union government was compelled once again to use the force to clear the Golden Temple of Sikh terrorists. Learning from its earlier mistake, government desisted from employing the military and assigned the task to NSG. The operational code name was Black Thunder 2nd. Launched on 11 May 1988, the operation was executed under the leadership of Punjab police and assisted by NSG and CRPF. 2 battalions of CRPF were deployed around the temple complex to control the access. The NSG deployed 100 commandos to carry out entire operations. Unlike the Indian government, the police and NSG methodically gathered intelligence about the terrorists and their position inside, systematically planned the entire operation before the entire temple precinct. The plan was to pin down the militant inside the complex by accurate sniper fire and then storm one part of the complex after another. So as the first step, snipers were positioned atop surrounding the building to shoot at terrorists who came out of the room in the temple complex. The first one to be killed sniper was Panthic Committee spokesman Jagir Singh in Parikrama area. Shooting Jagir Singh had demoralized the effort on rest of the militants. In following 3 days, a sniper killed 20 more militants. Meanwhile, appeals were made by the police to militants to surrender. For this purpose, a well-known Sikh saint, Baba Uttam Singh, also brought in. On 15 May 146 people, including 17 women and children, surrendered. Most of them were devotees trapped inside. As the next step, NSG commandos took control of the surrounding buildings, used heavy machine gun to break the fortification and neutralize the militants. The administration has already cut off electric and water supply to the temple complex. CRPF and police has laid a siege to break their wills of militants. Their patience paid off. 18th May 1988, 46 terrorists who has taken the refuge inside the Harmandir Singh Sahib 3 days earlier surrendered. In all, 200 militants, including 550 hardcore terrorists, surrendered. The surrender caused the militants to lose the aura of invincibility, which they had developed before the operations. Further, the fact that the entire operation was conducted in front of media also helped a lot in shaping the narratives in the favor of government. The Sikh appreciated the restraint shown by the government forces. At the time, they were dismayed by dissection of the holy temple as well as torture and murders committed by the militants. Operation Black Thunder second has profound impact on the militancy of Punjab. It exposed the militants, especially the leaders, by demonstrating that they did not have any respect for the religious institution. In fact, Khalistan movement lost its veneer of religiosity it acquired earlier, soon degenerated into criminal acts. A study has revealed that Khalistan movement was populated with young and undereducated and illiterate youth with limited job prospects. Around 95% of the youth joined movement for fun and only 5% joined it for the pursuit of Khalistan. Armed with AK-47, these youth rampaged through the rural areas, indulging in loot, extortion, even rape. As a result, the rural people were repulsed by the militant and stopped offering them food and shelter. Furthermore, the gurudwaras were also no longer available for the militants to hide. Devoid of sanctuaries and safe houses, the militants were left open and soon either felled to the bullets of the police or their rivals or were arrested by the police. Immediately following the Operation Black Thunder, the terrorists gone on to indiscriminate killing spree by killing 343 persons in May 1988. However, determined action by the police and lack of the support of the masses constricted their areas of operations. By January 1989, the terrorists were confined into a thin strip of a land along with the international borders. 70% of their strikes limited only to three districts, that was Amritsar, Gurdaspur, and Firozpur. The number of Sikh militants killed in 1989 was 703, while the number arrested reduced from 3,882 to 2,466. Reflecting a shift in the strategy of the police, arrest and surrender were not encouraged because police felt that arrested militants would be invariably fed during the political compromise, thus enabling them to go back to militancy once again. While the police action against the militancy was highly successful as level of violence was gradually coming down, the brutality and extrajudicial killing by the police and detention of suspected militants without proper court hearing was creating a problem for the government at the center. The defeat of Congress I and the victory of National Front at the center provided the much needed oxygen to dying militancy in Punjab. Eager to arrive at a political solution, National Front government under VP Singh released the number of militants along with Simranjit Singh Mann, who was the leader of Akali Dal Mann, an extreme faction of Akali Dal. Even DGP KPS Gill was posted out of the state as a goodwill gesture towards the militant. The detente period was exploited by the militants to increase violence in the state. In fact, the numbers of civilians killed were most since Khalistan movement began. In 1990s, 1,961 civilians were killed by the militants, which increased to 1,994 in 91. The militants also increased their areas of operations from the border districts to include urban areas previously little affected by the districts. Distressed migration from the rural areas badly affected by the military rose. 2,524 families through 90s and 91. The number of terrorists killed also rose concomitantly from 1,320 in 90s and 2,177 in 91. Despite the rise in the death of militants, some members of Pakistan movement felt emboldened enough to ask the United Nations to conduct a referendum on secession. In fact, the leaders of Khalistan movement thought that victory was imminent and it was only border between India and Khalistan that has to be decided. The spirit and militancy was however short-lived as the Congress party returned to the power in center in 91. The Indian army was redeployed in the state. KPS Gill was again posted as the DGP of Punjab. Combined effort at the union as well as the state level helped to effectively tackle the scourge of the militancy in Punjab in face of a renewed and well-coordinated counter-terrorism strategy, the militant group could not offer a unified fight against the Indian state. Instead, they fragmented into multiple groups, including fratricidal killing, and engaged in criminal act. Even the political wing of militant group itself divided into four groups. First, second, third, Panthik Committee, the Akali Dal Babar, all of which claim to represent Sikh community and their aspiration. The last nail in the proverbial coffin of Khalistan movement was successful holding of election of 92, which was boycotted by the militants and Akali Dal. The Congress party came back to the power in the state, which allowed the police to finish the task eliminating the terrorism of the state. By end of 92, 537 terrorists have surrendered to police, six of them hardcore. In 1993, another 379, including seven hardcore terrorists, surrendered. The total number of civilians killed in 1993 also came down to only 48 to 48. So, in all respects, militancy came to an end by 93. Only the few intermittent terror episodes continued for a couple of years. The major incident being assassination of Chief Minister Byan Singh. What was the state response? So initially, the union government treated militancy in Punjab as a law and order problem. We have already talked what is the difference between law and order problem, public order, and the security of the state. Expected that state police will tackle the problem. However, the poor leadership, politicization, sympathetic attitude of some personals towards extremists cause prevented the police from effective tackling of militancy. Left no option. The union government had to intervene, placed Punjab under president rule after the security situation deteriorated. The union government also undertook the overall responsibility of fighting the militants. The state employed a mixed constitutional, political and security measures to address the problem of militancy in the state. The state police subsequently pulled up its socks and ably assisted the military and CAPF. In fact, it was re-inaugurating the state police, which eventually succeeded in ending the decade-old militancy in the state. Political efforts. The government at the central tried to accommodate the demand of Akali Dal in order to come to a negotiated settlement. The first attempt, Sikh militancy broke out in the state, was made in 1981. In response, 15 points of demand of Akali Dal was submitted in October. Indira Gandhi immediately invited the leaders of the Akali Dal for the talk and even met them twice. Further, in October 82, the government also released all arrested Akali Dal's agitators as a gesture of goodwill to facilitate talks. Several rounds of talk between the representatives and union government and the Akali Dal leader took place. The talk essentially revolved around the broad topics which concerned the Sikh as the religious community, those residing in the other state beside Punjab and other issues. The union government tried to meet some of the demands such as imposition ban on the sales of tobacco, liquor, meat in the world cities of Amritsar, including Golden Temple, instead of conferring holy status to the city of Amritsar. The government also allowed a direct relay of Shahbad Kirtan from Golden Temple through Jalandhar station of All India Radio for the duration of 1.5 hours in morning and half an hour in the evening. The government also allowed Sikhs to carry kirpan, which is specification in domestic flights for February 83. Following the hijacking of Indian airplanes, carrying kirpans was prohibited. Now, on the issue of river water sharing, the agreement was signed between the representative of Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan government and Union government in December 81. Under the agreement, the share of Punjab was raised from 4.22 million acre feet and the share of Haryana was to retain 3.50 million acre feet. In addition, Punjab was allowed to utilize the surplus water of Rajasthan till the state was in position to utilize its full share. This settled issue was, however, raked up by the Akali Dal, demanding the allocation water under 1955 agreement between the pre-partition Punjab and Rajasthan should be reopened as Rajasthan was given more share. The Akali Dal also demanded that the share of Yamuna River should be allocated to Punjab. This issue, however, remained inconclusive. Then, regarding the transfer of Chandigarh to Punjab, the Indira government reiterated in 70s position that Chandigarh will be transferred to Punjab, providing Haryana gets its share of some Hindi-speaking areas, which are now in Punjab. However, insisted Chandigarh to be transferred to Punjab, the other claims and the counter claims, including Abohar Fazila, to be referred to the commission. In the response of Akali Dal of restructuring center-state relations, granting autonomy to Punjab, Indian government constituted a Sarkaria committee in 83 to look into the issue. The Akali, however, wanted that Anandpur resolution is specifically mentioned, which was unacceptable to the government. Then they have in 84 Akali Dal submitted a fresh demand for amendment of Article 25 to B, the Constitution of India, which states that the reference to Hindu shall be construed as including a reference to a person professions of Sikh, Jain or Buddhist religion, and the reference to Hindu religion instituted shall be construed accordingly. In order to diffuse the situation, the central government convened a tripartite meeting with the Akali Dal opposition. After the first meeting, the Akali Dal decided not to participate in the talks any further. Now, in the wake of Operation Blue Star, Indira Gandhi's assassination and anti-Sikh rights, the Rajiv Gandhi government restarted the stalled peace process with the Akali Dal. He invited Sant Harchand Singh Longewal, president of Akali Dal, for a dialogue to Delhi. His government was released around 1,700 extremists along with several Akali Dals who was arrested during the following Operation Blue Star to send positive signal. Interestingly, Rajiv Gandhi government also started a parallel dialogue with AISSF, which was a prominent terrorist organization at that time. However, talks soon broke down with the AISSF as the government apparently favored the Akalis. Finally, the peace dialogues with the Akali Dal culminated into the signing of Rajiv Longewala Accord in 1985. The accord took the account of several demands of Sikh, including the transfer of Chandigarh to Punjab, setting up a separate commission to determine the transfer of village to Haryana, as well as other claims. Referring Anandpur Sahib resolution on center and state relationship, the Sarkaria Commission, and setting up for the tribal tribunals for the river water sharing. While the moderate welcomed the accord, the extremists accused Longewala for selling the Sikh communities to Hindi government. In fact, only a few weeks after signing the accord, Longewala was killed by a terrorist. In August 85, the center also announced the state election with the hope that new constituted government will be able to bring peace to the state. Despite threats from the terrorist group, the state Akali election was held in September 85. 67% voters participation. The Akali Dal, led by Surjit Singh Barnala, a moderate leader and the ally of Longewala, formed the government. Barnala, in the effort to bring normalcy in the state, made peace overtures to the terrorist groups, released around 2,000 militants on the recommendation of Ban's committee. His government also looked other way when 26 January 86, the Damdami Taskal and AISS ousted the SGPC and captured the Golden Temple and hoisted Khalistan flag atop of the temple. From the day onwards, Punjab plunged into a renewed cycle of violence and lawlessness. Thereafter, Rajiv Gandhi dismissed the Barnala government in 87 for its failure to establish law and order in the state and declare emergency on the ground of internal disturbance in Punjab. During emergency, amongst other restrictions, the right of life as guaranteed by the Constitution of India suspended in the state. The government also decided the futility of implementing Rajiv Longewal Accord under the circumstances, which mainly analysts argue was not a wise decision and might have contributed in aggravating the already precarious situation. These developments further marginalized the moderates, paving the way for the extremist faction of Akali Dal led by Simranjit Singh Mann to dominate the political scene, which won 6 out of 8 parliamentary seats. After Rajiv Gandhi, the VP Singh government also tried to politically resolve the Punjab issue by holding the talks with the Akali leader by Mann. The talks, however, failed as Indian government could not concede to their demands Another attempt at arriving at the negotiation of settlements with the Akalis by the subsequent Chandrasekhar government also failed. On February 92, the state election proved to be turning point for Punjab. Despite boycott calls from the militant group, people came out to the vote of the elections even though the voter turnout was low of 21%. It reaffirmed people's faith in democracy. This faith was yet again displayed in the municipal polls in 92 when the voter turnout to be 70% in subsequent Panchayat polls, when voting percentage increased to 82%. The successful elections with a high voter turnout highlighted that the fact people of Punjab were fed up with the reign of terror and the militants have already lost their support base amongst the people. What was the constitutional and legal measures took? The outbreak of militancy in Punjab forced the union government to bring Punjab under president's rule. 6th October 1983. Imposed Article 356 of Indian Constitution. Under president rule, the state is ruled by the governor, who is the representative of the president. After the proclamation of the president rule, the Punjab Disturbed Area Ordinance in 1983, Chandigarh Disturbed Area Ordinance were promulgated on 7 October 83. The ordinance empowered the government of Punjab and the administrator of Chandigarh to declare whole or the part of the state union territory as disturbed through gazette notification. The ordinance also allowed the central armed forces to be deployed in the state in the aid of civil administration. They provided special power to the police, such as firing upon and using maximum force, even causing death, against any person who seriously breaches public order in the disturbed area. The ordinances also empowered the police to destroy armed dumps, fortification, training camps from where an attack was made or perceived to be made. They provided the immunity to policemen against the lawsuit brought in discharging his duties under the ordinance. These ordinances were later passed as an act of the parliament in 8 December 83. Following the issuance of the ordinance, the Punjab and Chandigarh government declared the whole state as well as city of Chandigarh as disturbed area in 15 October 83. The union government deployed CRPF, BSF in the state to aid the police. Later, battalions of ITBP were also deployed to guard the banks against attempted robbery. In conjunction to Punjab and Chandigarh Disturbed Area Ordinance, the Union government also promulgated Armed Force Punjab Chandigarh Special Powers Ordinance on 15th October 83 to enable the Indian Army to operate in the state and the Union territories. The terms of ordinance broadly remained the same as that the terms of Armed Forces Assam and Manipur. The Special Provision Powers Act, such as allowing the military to use maximum force, including the lethal force, to destroy ammunition dumps, training camps, and arrest as well as enter any premises without warrant. However, two sections were added which provided additional power to the armed forces. First, subsection E, which added a section 4 stipulating that any vehicles can be stopped, searched, and seized forcibly if it is suspected for carrying proclaimed offenders or ammunition. Second, section 5 was added specifying that the soldier has the power to break open any lock if the key therefore is withheld. The ordinance enabled the Union government to deploy the Indian military in the state in June 84 to bring the situation under control. The ordinance was passed by the Parliament as Armed Force Punjab and Chandigarh Special Provision Act on 8 December 83. Furthermore, the Terrorist Affected Areas Special Court Act was enacted to provide for speedy trials of certain offences in terrorist affected areas for the matter connected therewithin. Punjab and Chandigarh were declared terrorist affected areas in August 84 and 3 judicial zone was created with a special court. The special court was established in Patiala, Jalandhar and Firozpur. Subsequently, 7 additional special courts were set up. 2 at Amritsar, 1 each at Hoshiarpur, Ludhiana, Patiala, Bathinda and Chandigarh. Under the Act, it is specified that the special courts could try scheduled offences, but other offences committed in the terrorist affected area pending before any court shall be transferred to the special court. The schedule in the Act has expanded to include offences ranging from the offences against the state to criminal intimidation as well. The hearing of this code was held in camera essentially to protect the witnesses against the terrorist. Another important legislation was PATA. This act was enacted to make special provisions of the prevention of and for coping with the terrorist and disruptive activities for matter connected therewith or incidental thereto. This anti-terrorism legislation came into effect in the year 85 and remained till effect 95. It was the first anti-terrorism law introduced by the government for counter-terrorist activity against the backdrop of Punjab militancy. Special court was set up under this act to deal with the case of terrorism and disruptive activities. The act allowed the judicial admission of the confession during investigation as an evidence relieved by the police of the responsibility to produce the accused before the judicial magistrate within 24 hours. The accused could be detained for 1 year without trial under this act. The security situation in Punjab deteriorated further because of the terrorist activities. The Legislative Assembly was dissolved and the emergency proclaimed in the state 88. The Union government also carried a series of amendment constitution in 59th Amendment Act which enabled the continuation of presidential proclamation under 355-6 beyond 1 year to 3 years without the approval of Parliament. Further, the Article 250, 352 and 358 were suitably amended to include internal disturbance and threatening of India's integrity as one of the grounds to proclaim emergency in the state. In 359 was suitably amended to provide automatic suspension of Article 21, the right of life to restore order. This offensive amendment was repealed by 63rd Amendment on 6 January 90s. In the intervening period that for 21 months protection of life and personal liberty of a person was not guaranteed in Punjab. Last but not least, Religious Institution Prevention of Misuse Ordinance was passed as an act in 1st September 88 but was applied retrospectively 26 May 88. This act was enacted to prevent the misuse of religious institutions for political and other purpose. As mentioned, the Sikh militant as well as Akali Dal various faction has been misusing the Gurudwaras including the golden temples while security forces were hesitant to enter the premises fearing adverse reaction from the Sikh communities. The act prohibited the use of religious institutions for promoting the political activities, harboring any accused and convicted person, storing arms and ammunition, building fortification as well as conducting any activities which were in contravention to the law, promoting societal disharmony, threatening the integrity of the country. The act also held religious institution or the managers of the institution accountable for the offence under the act. Most importantly, the act clarified the legalities of military operation inside the premises of the religious spaces which enabled the security forces to exercise the writ of law in the Gurudwara premises. What was the security measures? While political efforts were made to find a political solution to Sikh militancy, it was comprehensive counter-terrorism response implemented by the security forces, especially the Punjab police, which ultimately defeated the terrorism in Punjab as mentioned above. Entire Punjab was declared as disturbed area in October 83. CRPF, BSF, ITBP were deployed in aid of the state police. The police, which was at that time demoralized, ill-trained, ill-equipped, politicized, did not possess the ability to determination to the challenge of militant. The police did not maintain any record of terrorist crime, did not conduct any investigation. In fact, police was extremely reluctant to undertake counter-terrorist assignment for the fear of identification and reprisal. Unfortunately, the CAPF also could not tackle the problem of militancy because first they did not train into counter-terrorist operations. Secondly, the fact they were an outside force meant that the CAPF were unfamiliar with the terrain and the people of the state. Inadequate knowledge about the terrain and inability to interact with the local people meant that CAPF could not generate their own intelligence and had to rely on the state police, which was not forthcoming. As a result, anti-terrorist operations conducted by CAPF against the militants were marked by the clumsiness, which further alienated the common people. They also operated in large unconventional formation, unlike the militants who were highly mobilized and operated in the small groups. It was when the police and CAPF failed to bring the situation under control. On 3rd June 84, the government deployed Indian Army in Punjab to aid civil administration to maintain public order. The responsibility assigned to the army was to tackle and control the terrorist violence and to provide security to a common man, to strengthen the international borders and prevent infiltration of terrorist smuggling of the arms and ammunition. The CRPF, BSF and Punjab Armed police were placed under the command of Indian Army. The first task that the Indian Army undertook after being deployed in the Punjab was to flush out the militants from various gurudwaras, including the Golden Temple. The disastrous consequences of military operations in Punjab revealed that, like CAPF, the state police, the Indian Army also did not have any experience in counter-terrorism at that point. So, despite deploying 35 battalions of Indian Army, 350 companies of CAPF during the peak of militancy, the central forces proved ineffective in defeating the Sikh militancy in Punjab. The main factor that prevented those forces to work together as coherent unified counterterrorism response were lack of actionable intelligence. Forces acting in isolation more often than not competing with each other, no sharing of intelligence information, poor coordination amongst the central forces, the state police, distrust tension between Indian Army and CAPF on the one hand and state police on the other. In fact, Punjab police personnel has clashed openly with CRPF in Amritsar 86 were close to exchanging fire. The counter-offensive by Punjab Police. As stated earlier, Punjab Police spearheaded the counter-terrorist campaign in the state. The revival of hitherto weak, demoralized, politicized force was initiated by two police officers, that is J.F. Ribeiro and KPS Gill, who was appointed successive DJP in 86 and 88 respectively. A number of measures was undertaken by these two to transform the state police into the effective counter-terrorism force. To begin with, the police was provided with more manpower, equipped infrastructure and training. 89, the massive recruitment drives were undertaken to fill the vacancies. Accordingly, the strength of police rose from 32,855 to 51,833 within the span period of 5 years, which further increased to 65,658. Further, to address the problem of lack of proficiency in counter-terrorism operations, the Punjab police was trained by Indian Army and the NSG in the operational tactics. Similarly, to counter the sophisticated weapons such as AK-47 used by the Sikh militants, the weaponry of police was upgraded from World War II vintage 303 rifles, equally obsolete, bolt against 7.62 to light machine guns and SLR. General purpose guns were provided for the police post in riverine areas. The upgradation of weaponry increased the capabilities of the police to repulse the terrorist attacks and to confront the militants on relatively equal footing. The police also received modern radio communication equipments. Checkposts were connected with the wireless networks. The forces received scores of vehicles, including bulletproof vehicles. The police personnel were provided with a bulletproof vest and housed in specially constructed protective enclaves. These upgradations enabled the force to communicate and quickly patrol more frequently, widely response timely and effective in the crisis of situation. A number of organizational improvements were also undertaken. First, the police station in severely affected district was strengthened by increasing the number of police personnel as well as stationing a senior level police inspector such as deputy superintendent of police instead of sub-inspector. Second, some of these districts such as Amritsar, Gurdaspur were subdivided in more police districts and new police stations were set up in these newly created police districts and police for more police presence. Third, a large number of police personnel tied to passive and static duties such as manning barricades, pickets, nakas were freed and reallocated to mobile cum naka contingent. Fourth, police professionals were also sympathetic to the terrorist cause were discreetly identified and assigned duties which did not undermine anti-terrorist operations. The objective of reorganization and upgradation of police station was to make each police station capable of reacting immediately and independently to any act of terrorist violence in its jurisdiction. Around 15,000 home guards were also recruited to assist the police. Last but not the least, SPOs were appointed in the villages. Village defense schemes were started. The SPOs, often ex-military or policemen, were paid a daily stipend, provided weapons, were permitted to eliminate the militants within their jurisdiction as well as adjacent villages also. Under the obedience, volunteers were provided armed and trained in weapons handling. Tactical plans were drawn for the defense of villages. SPOs were made in charge of the village defense operations according to the Gill. VDS was to play a significant role to the very end of the war against terrorism. How they have managed to revamp intelligence gathering. Now, the next important reform that was carried out establishing a system of intelligence gathering and analysis. Intelligence, which is the most important component of counter-terrorism campaign, was poorly gathered by the Punjab police. They did not keep records of the militant activities as well as subsequent investigation, if any. Central intelligence agencies such as IB, RAW, MI did not have much presence in Punjab, which added to the dearth of intelligence. The failure to gather the basic information regarding the militant activities prevented the police to understand the nature as well as the trend and pattern of the militancy in the state. They also failed to identify military cadres and active supporters. To remedy of this problem, an intelligence wing was instituted in 84, which was manned by the personnel borrowed from CAPF and PAP. The manpower so acquired along with the civil police started maintaining databases of the militant activities as well as conducting investigations. Over the next few years, the wing expanded and was able to organize and analyze the incoming intelligence documents, their finding and disseminate to other security organizations. After the Operation Black Thunder II, the intelligence gathering went deeper to understand the pattern of militancy at the grassroots level, identifying the villages who provided active support to the militants through recruitment as well as logistical support. The police was gradually but effectively able to identify the militant, their strength, their opponents, network, safe houses, cross-border routes of infiltration and exfiltration. Such intelligence was verified as well as augmented through manual and electronic surveillance, informers infiltrating the militant organization as well as concealed apprehension techniques. Now, this involved utilizing the knowledge of surrendered militants about the previous organization as well as its members. These surrendered militants who were paid handsomely and shielded against the prosecution, worked closely with the people and often accompanied to the specific areas to identify their former colleagues, termed grossly as illegal practice by the police. The CAT was nonetheless effective in anti-terrorism strategy, has been successful in elimination of several topmost militant joint and coordinated operations. As stated above, various central forces were deployed to fight militancy in Punjab were rendered ineffective because of the poor coordination and intelligence sharing. These nagging issues were gradually resolved by taking corrective steps. First, to share information among the forces involved, joint interrogation team comprising of police and CRPF were constituted and the system of intelligence of sharing was set up. Second, a process of joint operation of CRPF and police were initiated. So overall, over a period of time, both of these forces operated as one unit, thus improving the coordination and cooperations. Third, officers from CAPF as well as from outside Punjab police cadres were inducted to conduct and oversee operations at all levels. As a result of these reforms, security forces could undertake a joint operation successfully. Successful execution of Operation Black Thunder under the overall command of Punjab police is one of the examples. Another example of successful joint operation was Operation Rakshak 1 and 2. The objective of this operation was to stop militant violence in the border belt by preventing infiltration of the militants and disrupting the movements of arms and weapons. The Rakshak 1, which was launched in 90s, the Indian Army deployed in its strength along with the Dik Kam Bandh, which varied in distance from 300 meters to 5,000 meters from the international borders. Even the companies and the battalions headquarters were located close to the borders. The army also actively engaged in the search and seizure operations. The double line of the defense comprising the BSF, Indian Army, border fences, curfew imposed in the villages falling within the broader belt effectively stopped cross-border movements of militants. In May 1991, the army was ordered to withdraw from the border districts. However, the Rakshak coup was launched. The 9 more divisions of Indian Army was deployed in the state. The Indian Army this time did not conduct active anti-militancy operations. Did not conduct active anti-militancy operations, only assisted the police and civil administration. The success of Operation Rakshat's first and second can be attributed to enhanced coordination between the security forces facilitating by the review committee set up at various levels. An apex review committee comprising of chief secretary, representative from civil administration, army was set up at the state level. The district level two committees consisting of deputy commissioner and representative of both IB and army was set up in the coordination committee. Then securing international borders. Namami. The crossing over Sikh militants into Pakistan, returning with the armed and explosive to perpetrate the terror activities in the state neighboring areas, compelled the government of India to put in place measures to cut off their access routes into Pakistan from Punjab and back. These measures included erecting of barbed wire fences and wire obstacles along with the vulnerable stretches for the borders, floodlighting them, augmenting the strength of BSF and procuring sophisticated electronic device for broader surveillance. The project of fencing the international border was announced in 88-93. Over 433.92 kilometers of border in the Punjab fencing was completed. These fence plays an important role as the physical obstruction and prevented easy egress and ingress of the militants from Pakistan. The strengthening of BSF, additional battalion BSF was raised and deployed along with the border. For example, in 86, a plan of raising 25 battalion of BSF for India-Pakistan border was launched. Under the modernization program, BSF was also provided night surveillance capabilities such as passive night vision goggles, night weapons sight, handheld searchlights, handheld deep search metal detectors, handheld thermal imagery, long range reconnaissance observation system, battlefield surveillance radars, and remote surveillance for international borders. As mentioned above, the militants aided by the Pakistan crossed the international border and launched attacks, especially targeting border districts. As militant attacks increased, the anxiety amongst the border population rose. People start moving out. Investment in agricultural dwindling, impacting farming output. Sense of insecurity and depressed economic growth gradually enveloped the broader areas. In the view of distressing situation, the Union government realized that the area requires a special government intervention for the overall development. It concluded that the special scheme should be introduced to bring about the overall development of these areas which encounter peculiar problems because of inaccessibility, remoteness, and sense of insecurity in the people because of external aggression and cross-border terrorism and unlawful activities. According to the broader border area development program was launched in 86 in the Punjab with a twin objective: balanced development of the sensitive border area in the western region through the adequate provision of infrastructure facilities and promotion of the sense of security amongst the local population. Now, what is the present situation? Resurgence of Sikh militancy. Efforts to revive the Khalistan movement by the militant elements in the Sikh diaspora with the help of Pakistani ISIs has been continuous. In fact, it was 2007 that Indian intelligence agencies has warned that Pakistan ISIS is trying to revive the Sikh militancy in the state. An incident of bomb blast in cinema hall in Ludhiana in the same year, in which three suspected Babar Khalsa militants were arrested, which was seen as an evidence of Sikh militancy, could be raised its head again. This apprehension was further fueled when Sikh communities organized a massive protest against Dera Sacha Sauda Chief Ram Rahim for sacrilege. In May 2007, Ram Rahim has imitated Guru Gobind Singh by wearing pink robe during congregation in Salabatpura, which infuriated the Sikh communities. Fortunately, for the next 7 to 8 years, no incident of violence or protest was registered in Punjab. However, from 2015 onwards, incidents of Beadabi, a sacrilege committed against Guru Granth Sahib, ensued protest and killing have again reignited. The discussion on the revival of Khalistan movement in Punjab. This is because in 1980s, the incident of sacrilege was exploited to foment religious disharmony, fuel terrorism in the state. 2015, three incidents of sacrilege committed yet again by the follower Dera Sacha Saudja was reported. These incidents include the theft of the copy of Guru Granth Sahib from the Gurudwara of Burj Jawahar Singh Wala village in June. Another when the pages of the holy book was torn and strewn in Bargari in October, killing of three persons by the police and ensuing protest in Faridkot, the failure of state police to apprehend the culprits aggravated the simmering anger among the Sikh communities. Eventually, two of the suspect culprits was killed, unidentified gunman. Many people believe that these sacrilege incidents were staged manned by the Khalistan separatists to the wake of sleeping Sikh Kong and provoke them into believing that neither they nor their honor is safe. In Hindu India, questions are raised as to why the person who commits sacrilege are not closely questioned about the motives to bring out the truth. Incidentally, the politician also exploit these sacrilege incident to polarize the masses and win the elections. In 2017, Congress made this election issue promise every sacrilege incident in the past will be investigated. So when the party came into the power under Captain Amrinder Singh government constituted Ranjit Singh Commission to investigate various incidents of sacrilege to the Holy Guru Granth Sahib and the religious text. Furthermore, in August 2018, the Punjab Legislative Assembly passed IPC, Punjab Amendment Bill, and the Code of Criminal Procedures Amendment Bill to introduce amendments to IPC and CPC applicable only to the state of Punjab that make committing sacrilege against religious texts punishable within the life imprisonment. Earlier, the Punjab cabinet approved the insertion of section 295AA to IPC to provide that whomsoever cause injury, damage, sacrilege to Guru Granth Sahib, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Holy Quran, Holy Bible, with the intention to hurt the religious feelings shall be punished with the imprisonment for the life. In 2006, Shiromani Akali Dal, Bharatiya Janata Party government has passed a similar bill to punish the desecration of Guru Granth Sahib with the imprisonment. That bill could not be implemented as union government raised objection to the fact that life imprisonment should not be limited to the desecration of holy book of only one religion but should be applicable for all religion. Despite the implementation of law against the sacrilege, incident of desecration of the holy book, holy places have not abated, resulting in the tensions and the killing of the people. For example, 2008 on the pages of Guru Granth Sahib was found strained in Amritsar. In December 21, two incidents of sacrilege was reported. In first case, a sword donated by Ranjit Singh was stolen from Golden Temple. In the second case, Nishan Sahib at the Gurudwara at Kapurthala was desecrated. In the first cases, Sevadas of Gurudwara apprehended the thief and lynched him to the death. In April 2023, yet again two incidents of sacrilege was reported with three persons including the pastors were arrested for hitting two Granthis, desecrating the Guru Granth Sahib in Morinda Gurudwara, tearing the pages of Gupta Sahib in Faridkot. Besides sacrilege incident, killing of prominent persons belonging to the different regions sects were carried out, foment communal tension. To begin with, 2016, Durga Prasad Gupta, chief of Shiv Sena Labour Wing in Punjab, as well as Mata Chand Kaur, wife of late chief of Namdari sect, was shot dead by the silent. In 2016, RSS leader Brig Jagdish Neda was shot and fatally wounded. Similarly, in 2017, Ludhiana witnessed a series of killings. In January of the year, the pastor Sultan Machi, the leader of Hindu Takat, was shot dead by the assailant. Two followers of Dera Sacha Saudja was killed. RSS leader Lavendra Gosain was killed by two unidentified gunmen. Fortunately, these incidents did not flare up the major crisis in the state, much to chagrin the separatists residing on foreign soil. The separatists got an opportunity to exploit the sentiment against the union government during the farmer protest in 2000 and 2001. In September 2000, the government enacted two new land farms of agriculture and modified Essential Commodities Act of 51 for agriculture food produce. These law was projected as much needed the reform in agriculture sector, which would allow the farmer to sell their produce anywhere in India by deregulating the sale of farm produce in APMC mandis and removing the middlemen. The farmers, especially from Punjab and Haryana, however, feared that the law would eventually dismantle the MSP minimum support price system and push Arthias or the commission agent who also helped the farmers by providing loans and out of business. Consequently, farmers held massive protests and demanded that the union government either take back the laws and give them the legal guarantee that MSP will be protected. As the protest rallies intensified, intelligence reports started emerging that six separatist organizations such as Six for Justice was not only infiltrating the farmers' protest rallies but also trying to foment anti India's sentiments among the people. In fact, SFJ has announced that it would provide all supports for the planned Kisan Gantantra Parade on the Republic Day and reward any person who would remove the Indian flag atop of the Red Fort and hoist the Khalistani flag on the day. Instigated by the youth leaders as well as SFJ, thousands of protesters stormed the Red Fort, hosted the Nisane Sahib, thereby making a political statement. As protests spread became more violent, the Union government capitulated and repealed the three acts in November. The repeal was carried out to take away any opportunity from the extremist element in the Sikh diaspora to incite the Sikhs in Punjab. Interestingly, the farmer agitation also threw up controversial personalities such as Sandeep Singh. It is alleged that Deep Sidhu was Khalistani sympathizer and wanted to widen up the scope for the farmer protests and challenge the union government. He was instrumental in instigating the farmer to resort to the violence during the tractor rally as well as Red Fort. Later, he floated Waris Punjab, the Heirs of Punjab on September 30 September 21, an organization to act a pressure group to protect the fight for the right of Punjab and raise social issues. He lent his support to the pro-Khalistani leaders Samrajit Singh Maan Saad Amritsar during the Lok Sabha by-election. Following the death of Sidhu in 2022, Amritpal Singh, a proclaimed Khalistani who styled himself as Jarnal Singh Bhindranwala, allegedly anointed himself as the chief of Waris Punjab Day and made Khalistan a priority issue for the organization. To gain popularity amongst the masses in the state, he also took up social and religious issues by urging Sikh youths to shun drugs, become Amritdhari by strictly following the tenets of Sikhism. While Amritpal Singh has been actively propagating the ideas of Khalistan, the Punjab government did not take any action on him. It was only after he and his supporters stormed the Ajnala police station to free one of his aides, Lapreet Singh, in 23. The action was initiated against him. The state government invoked the National Security Act against Amritpal Singh, registered at least half a dozen of criminals in March 23. Finally, April 23, Amritpal Singh along with the 9 aides were arrested by the Punjab police and transferred to Dibrugarh jail. His arrest brought to an end of the drama possible of the revival of Khalistan movement in India. The Sikh diaspora, especially in Canada, USA, UK and Australia, however, continue with the propaganda for the separate Khalistan and indulge in the violent activities which include arson and the attacks on Indian high commissions and consulates in US and UK. What is the summary? Punjab witnessed increased violence in 80s and 90s as the Sikh militants demanding for separate Khalistan carried out numerous terrorist attacks. A combination of security, political, legal and economical tools were employed by the Union government to tackle the problem of militancy in the initial years. However, in the end, it was reinvigorated Punjab police, which was successful in dealing the death blow to the militants in the state. Here, it is important to mention that the non-interference by political parties, both at union as well as state level in the effort of police, greatly helped the force to strategize and conduct counter-terrorism operations without constraints. In fact, it was the political will of the ruling political party not to tolerate terrorism of any kind that provided the police much needed support for successful complete its assigned tasks. Had this be political will been displayed when terrorism first reached its ugly head in 70s, Punjab would not have been experienced such a scourge of Sikh militancy in the first place, but the aspiration gaining the political power in the state and to sustain it by any means led both Congress and Akali Dal to not only tolerate Sikh extremism but to foment it. It was one upmanship between these two political parties that proved costly for the people of Punjab and the country in long run. Two factors which also contributed substantially in the financing of Sikh militancy in the stage was degeneration of Khalid movement into avarice and wanton killing, and the withdrawal of support to the movement by Pakistan as became involved in fomenting cross-border terrorism in Jammu Kashmir. While Sikh militancy was effectively put down in 90s, the state police in subsequent years has to face severe criticism in the way of counter-terrorism operations were conducted. A number of police officers' personnel were indicted for committing excesses and has to fit cold trial in sentiment against the alleged atrocities committed against the Sikh Qawm by Indian government continue to simmer. These sentiments are stronger in Sikh diaspora located in Canada, US, UK, Germany, mostly among the Sikh immigrants who left India during 80s and 90s. It is this diaspora who kept the flames of separatists alive. Their focus of attention changed from demanding separate Khalistan to highlighting the alleged atrocities committed by Indian government on the Sikh communities, particularly during the Operation Blue Star. In such respect, organizations such as Khalistan Council, the World Sikh Organizations, and SFJ are particularly active. This was Punjab. Next session will be on Chhattisgarh, left-wing extremism. Coming to the question of the day. Digital marketing and social influence. How can bring security of state aloof? The celebrity worship and following can sometime be fatal for national unity. Examine. This is the question. Digital marketing and social influence. How can bring security of the state aloof? The celebrity worship and following can sometime be fatal for national unity. Examine. Write the question. Send it 9324504318. Will review and reply to you. And further, also if you want, we can give you a structured answer. I hope now the Punjab is clear to everyone. What was the region, how it happened, and how it got suppressed. Next session will be on Chhattisgarh.